How you doing, Mr. DJ? Back counting down my fantasy playlist. One of my many, oh gosh, how many hundreds or thousands of fantasy playlists. This one from April 23rd, 1990, at number 22, classic rock, making a resurgence with Black Crowes doing Jealous Again at number 22, up one from 23. The album Shake Your Money Maker. Got that grinding guitar, a rambunctious guitar playing. Jealous Again, there was Hard to Handle and Try It Twice as Hard. Very reminiscent of the Rolling Stones when they were doing songs like Brown Sugar and of course Faces. Rod Stewart and Faces when they were doing Stay With Me in 1972, that early 70s rock and roll coming into play, being rebirthed somewhat in 1990. Shake Your Money Maker, the name of the album. Actually, that was Shake Your Money Maker was the name of a blues record by Elmore James. It was a song that the Black Crowes did live, but they didn't put it on the album. The album was just called Shake Your Money Maker. And boy, it just unleashed some hit records. Not big top 40 hits, but we're talking heavy rotation on the rock stations, on MTV, and the top 10 on the mainstream rock charts. Twice as hard to handle. Hard to handle, originally done by Otis back in 1968. Otis did it. It was played on some of the radio stations too, particularly down here in the South. Otis Redding was really popular here in the South. It wasn't until later on that he became popular across the rest of the nation by the late 60s, particularly after he performed at Monterey, the Monterey Pop Festival. He made a big splash there in 1967, but died in that plane crash, though, late 67, early 68, and then Sitting on the Dock of the Bay came in the aftermath of that, and Hard to Handle was a runner-up. Well, not, yeah, Hard to Handle went to number 51 on Billboard's Hot 100, produced by Steve Cropper of Stax Records. Steve Cropper, the guitarist. Booker T and the MGs, the house band of Stax Records. So the legends arise on this record, the background. And Black Crowes did a nice version of that record. And She Talks to Angels. That was probably the biggest hit off the album on the pop charts. Went to number 30, I think, on Billboard's Hot 100. I-95 in Birmingham played the heck out of that one. And actually, on She Talks to Angels, the guitar riff the guitar riff originated with Rich Robertson, one of the Robertson brothers, Chris and Rich Robertson. He came up with that guitar riff years before that song came out when he was 17 years old. Well, they called themselves the Crow's Garden originally. Let me double check my notes. Bear with me. I slop stuff all over the place. They originally called themselves Mr. Crow's Garden. 1984. It was started out the band, Chris and Rich Robertson brothers. Chris Robertson, the flamboyant lead singer, kind of reminiscent of Rod Stewart. Very reminiscent of Rod Stewart. Some of his moves, and of course Mick Jagger at the same time. Remedy. Oh God, Remedy back in 1992. Boy, I flipped over that record. MTV was all over that one. Late spring, summer 1992. This was an acceleration of classic rock, early 70s classic rock, and you got the R&B singer. You got Otis, Mick Jagger, and Rod Stewart all thrown together on that record. They just went to town. They threw the red carpet all the way out to classic rock of the early 70s and the soul of the 60s. Doing a little bit of Otis back in the day. Chris Robertson. They were discovered. Now, this band formed in 1984, and of course they called themselves Mr. Crow's Garden. They were discovered by a producer. Well, actually, he was an art. Well, his name, I couldn't get his pronunciation down because for some reason this is an old desktop I'm using and it wasn't able to bring up his last name, but the pronunciation of his last name. His name was George Draculius. I'll pronounce it as that. George Draculius was a protege of Rick Rubin. of Def Jam Records. As artist and rapporteur, George Draculius discovered LL Cool J, and he discovered the Beastie Boys. Major finds. And he discovered the Black Crowes. He saw the Black Crowes do a concert in New York City, and Draculius signed them to the Def, not the Def Jam, but the Def American record label he produced, Shake Your Moneymaker. And they started working on the album in the summer of 1989. The album was recorded in Atlanta and in Los Angeles. So we have Jealous Again at number 22 on my fantasy playlist, April 23rd, 1990.